good morning. And before I say anything else, I want you to stop. Stop whatever you've been told about foot pain. Stop accepting it as just part of getting older. And stop doing those generic stretches your physical therapist handed you on a photocopied sheet back in 2019. Because what I'm about to share with you today is going to fundamentally change the way you think about your feet, your independence, and the next 20 years of your life. My name is Dr. Daniel Hayes, and I have spent over 3 decades studying human movement, longevity medicine, and orthopedic rehabilitation. But today, I want to talk about something that changed my entire understanding of aging and foot health. And it came not from a laboratory in Boston or a research hospital in London, but from a tiny clinic in Okinawa, Japan, run by a physician who was still seeing patients at the age of 101. His name was Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, and he believed with every fiber of his being that the feet were the foundation of the entire human body, and that most Western medicine had been treating foot pain completely backwards for half a century. He wasn't chasing symptoms. He was rebuilding foundations. And the 5 exercises he used with his oldest patients, some of them in their 90s, some who hadn't walked without a cane in years, are what we are going to go through today, one by one, from least to most powerful. Now, here is the statistic that stopped me cold when I first read it. A landmark study published by the American Podiatric Medical Association found that over 77% of adults over the age of 60 experience significant foot pain, and yet fewer than a third of them ever seek treatment, because they believe it is simply inevitable. Inevitable. That word is a medical tragedy. Because research from the University of Salford in the United Kingdom demonstrated that targeted foot and ankle exercises performed consistently over just 8 weeks reduced chronic foot pain by up to 62% in adults over the age of 65, with some participants reporting complete elimination of their symptoms. 62% in 8 weeks. That is not a small number. That is a life-changing number. And I'll tell you right now, the exercise coming in at number 1 on today's list is one that virtually no doctor in a standard 15-minute appointment will ever prescribe. It looks almost embarrassingly simple. And yet, research out of Kyoto University suggests it may be the single most effective thing a person over 70 can do for long-term foot health. So stay with me, because we are getting there. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something. And I genuinely want to know. Drop it in the comments right now. How old are you? And does your foot pain stop you from doing something you love? Whether that's walking in the garden, playing with your grandchildren, traveling, dancing, whatever it is, tell me. I read every single comment on this channel, every one, and your story matters more than you know. Now, let's count it down, 5 to 1, starting with number 5. Number 5 is something I call the toe splay activation. And I know what you're thinking. Toes? Seriously? But listen to me carefully, because this is where the entire foundation of your body begins to collapse. And most people have absolutely no idea it's happening. Think of your foot like the root system of a massive oak tree. If those roots are tangled, compressed, and unable to spread, the entire tree becomes unstable, susceptible to being knocked over by the slightest storm. And decades of wearing narrow shoes, stiff-soled footwear, and spending hours on hard, flat surfaces have caused the intrinsic muscles of your feet, the tiny, extraordinary muscles that live entirely within the foot itself, to essentially go to sleep. They atrophy. They forget how to fire. A study from Harvard Medical School found that the intrinsic foot muscles contribute to over 60% of dynamic foot stability during walking. 60%. And yet, after the age of 60, most people have lost significant voluntary control over these muscles, simply because modern footwear does all the work for them. Dr. Hinohara called this borrowed strength, and he believed it was one of the primary reasons his patients developed not just foot pain, but knee pain, hip pain, and even lower back problems, because the foot's inability to stabilize itself sends a shockwave of compensation all the way up the kinetic chain. Here is how you do the toe splay activation. Sit in a firm chair with both feet flat on the floor. Take a slow breath in, and as you breathe out, try to spread all 5 toes apart as wide as humanly possible, like you're trying to make your foot as wide as a starfish. Hold that spread for 5 full seconds, then slowly release. That is 1 repetition. Do 3 sets of 10, twice a day. Now it is going to feel strange at first. Some of you will barely be able to move your little toe independently at all. That is completely normal. That is actually the point. You are waking up muscles that have been dormant for years. I had a patient, Margaret, 73 years old, from Savannah, Georgia, who came to me after a hip replacement and was struggling with persistent pain along the outside of her left foot. She'd seen 3 podiatrists. She'd been given orthotics, cortisone injections, and a locking boot at various points. When I assessed her intrinsic foot muscle function, it was essentially non-existent on that side. We started her on toe splay activation twice a day, and within 3 weeks, the lateral foot pain had reduced by nearly half. She told me it was the first time in 4 years she'd walked across her kitchen in the morning without wincing. To enhance the effect, do this exercise barefoot on a slightly textured surface, a yoga mat, a folded towel, or even a piece of low-pile carpet. The sensory feedback from the surface activates what are called mechanoreceptors in the sole of the foot, which sends richer neurological signals to the brain and accelerates the muscle reawakening process. The scientific references for everything I'm sharing today are linked in the description below. Number 4 on our countdown is the heel raise with eccentric lowering, and this one carries more scientific firepower than almost anything else in the world of foot and ankle rehabilitation. Here is the science, and I want you to understand why this is especially important for those of us over 60. The Achilles tendon, the thick cord that connects your calf muscle to your heel bone, begins to lose what researchers call its viscoelastic properties as we age. In plain terms, that means it becomes stiffer, less springy, and far more vulnerable to micro tears and chronic inflammation. A study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden found that tendon cell regeneration slows by approximately 40% after the age of 65, which means injuries that would have healed in 3 weeks for a 40-year-old can linger for months or years in a 75-year-old. But here is what the research also shows, and this is the part that changed how I practice medicine. Eccentric loading, which means slowly lowering a muscle under tension rather than simply contracting it, has been shown in multiple peer-reviewed studies to stimulate tendon remodeling and actually reverse some of the age-related degeneration in the Achilles tendon. A landmark study from the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that an eccentric heel raise protocol reduced chronic Achilles tendon pain by up to 60% in patients over 60, with benefits appearing in as little as 6 weeks. Here is how to perform it. Stand behind a sturdy chair and hold the back of it lightly for balance, not gripping, just touching, like a gentle reassurance. Rise up onto both tiptoes slowly, taking about 2 seconds to rise. Now here is the critical part. Shift your weight so you are lowering yourself back down on 1 foot only. Very slowly, taking a full 4 to 6 seconds to lower your heel all the way down, even slightly below the level of the floor if you are on a step. That slow lowering is the eccentric phase, and that is where the magic happens. Alternate legs, 3 sets of 15 repetitions on each side, 3 times per week. Not every day. Your tendons need recovery time between sessions, especially after 60. Think of your Achilles tendon like a rubber band that has been left in the sun for years. It still functions, but it's lost its snap. Eccentric loading is like gently and systematically restoring that elasticity, not overnight, but steadily, undeniably, over weeks and months. A wonderful man named Robert, 78 years old, from Portland, Oregon, who had been managing Achilles tendinopathy for nearly 2 years, came to see me after his orthopedic surgeon suggested surgery as the next step. We started an eccentric loading protocol. 12 weeks later, Robert was walking 4 miles a day without pain, and he told me with tears in his eyes that he just walked his granddaughter around the zoo for the first time. Just the right movement, done correctly, consistently. For maximum synergy, pair this exercise with a magnesium glycinate supplement, approximately 300 to 400 milligrams, taken in the evening. Research from the University of Tennessee suggests that adequate magnesium levels enhance muscle recovery and reduce the low-grade inflammation in connective tissue that is so common in aging adults. It is a combination that Dr. Hinohara reportedly recommended to every patient over 70 in his clinic. Now, before we go further, if this video is helping you, if you are already thinking about trying these exercises, please take 3 seconds right now and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I put a significant amount of time and research into every video on this channel, and your support is what allows me to keep creating this content for free. We have more than 60,000 subscribers on this channel who are actively transforming their health in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I would love for you to be part of that community. Subscribe. You will not regret it. Number 3 is what I call the short foot exercise, and this one has a story behind it that I think you will find remarkable. The short foot exercise was first systematically described by a Czech neurologist and rehabilitation pioneer named Vladimir Janda in the 1960s. But it was Dr. Hinohara who introduced me to the concept during a correspondence we had in the final years of his life. And he referred to it simply as the foundation rebuild. He believed that if every person over 60 performed this exercise for 90 days, the global burden of lower limb pain would drop dramatically. I believe he was right. The arch of your foot, that beautiful curved structure that acts as a natural shock absorber, a spring, and a stabilizer all in one, is maintained not by the bones alone, but by a sling of muscles that actively hold it up. Think of your arch like a suspension bridge. The roadway itself does not hold up the bridge, the cables do. Your intrinsic foot muscles are those cables, and when they weaken, the bridge sags. That sagging is called flat foot or fallen arch, and it is extraordinarily common after 60, contributing to plantar fasciitis, heel pain, bunions, and pain radiating all the way into the knee and hip. A study published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy found that 8 weeks of short foot exercise training improved arch height index by 23% and significantly reduced plantar fasciitis symptoms in adults aged 60 to 82. 23% improvement in arch height. Your structure is not fixed. It can be rebuilt. Here is how to perform it. Sit in a chair with your foot flat on the ground, without curling your toes, and this is crucial. Do not let your toes curl. Try to shorten your foot from front to back, as though you are trying to drag the ball of your foot towards your heel along the floor. You will feel the arch of your foot lift and tighten. That is the correct sensation. Hold for 5 seconds. Release slowly. That is 1 repetition. 10 repetitions, 3 sets, twice daily. As you progress over several weeks, try to perform this exercise while standing, and eventually while standing on 1 foot, but only when you feel absolutely stable and ready. I treated a patient named Eleanor, 69 years old, from Tucson, Arizona, a former schoolteacher who had developed severe plantar fasciitis and was told by her podiatrist that custom orthotics were her only long-term option. She was spending over $1,000 a year on insoles that helped modestly but never resolved the underlying problem. We integrated the short foot exercise into her daily routine alongside gentle calf stretching. Within 10 weeks, her morning heel pain, that classic knife-like stabbing that plantar fasciitis patients describe when they first get out of bed, had reduced from a 9 out of 10 on the pain scale to a 2. She sent me a photograph of herself standing barefoot in her backyard garden with the caption, "First time in 3 years." To enhance the effect of this exercise, pair it with rolling the sole of your foot for 2 to 3 minutes before each session using a firm massage ball or even a frozen water bottle. The cold helps reduce any existing inflammation in the plantar fascia, and the rolling stimulates the fascial tissue and improves blood flow to those small intrinsic muscles before you ask them to work. Preparation matters enormously in the aging body because circulation to peripheral structures like the feet slows significantly after 70. Number 2, and this is the one I promised you earlier, the one that is going to surprise you, is what researchers are now calling the toe flexor strengthening protocol, sometimes simply called towel scrunching. But please do not let that humble name fool you for even a moment, because what this exercise does at a neurological and muscular level is nothing short of remarkable. Here is the uncomfortable truth that I want you to sit with for a moment. After the age of 65, the human body begins to experience what exercise scientists call anabolic resistance, a reduced ability of muscles to respond to normal exercise stimulation and rebuild themselves. This means that the same walk that would have maintained your foot muscles at 45 does virtually nothing to strengthen them at 72. The signal is there. The muscles just don't listen as well. And nowhere is this more dramatic than in the small muscles of the foot and lower leg, because they are furthest from the heart, receive less blood flow, and are neurologically the last in line when the aging brain prioritizes its resources. A groundbreaking study from Nagoya University in Japan, and I want you to remember this number, found that targeted toe flexor strengthening increased grip force of the toes by up to 47% in adults over 70 after just 12 weeks of consistent training. 47%. And here is why that matters profoundly. Toe grip force has been shown to be one of the most reliable predictors of fall risk in older adults. Every percentage point of improvement in toe strength statistically correlates with a reduced risk of falling. Falls are the #1 cause of injury-related death in adults over 65 in the United States. This exercise is not about comfort, though it will give you that too. This exercise is about survival. Here is how to do it. Place a thin hand towel flat on a hard floor. Sit in a chair with your bare foot resting on the towel. Using only your toes, no leg movement, no rocking, scrunch the towel toward you, gathering it under your foot like a claw reaching forward and pulling back. Scrunch for 30 seconds continuously. Rest for 30 seconds. That is 1 set. Do 4 sets per foot, daily. It sounds easy. It is not. You will likely feel fatigue in muscles you did not know you possessed, and that fatigue is the signal that something is changing. I think of Dr. Hinohara every time I prescribe this exercise, because he described watching patients in their late 80s in his Okinawa clinic doing exactly this. Sitting quietly, scrunching towels, chatting with one another. And he said to me in a letter, they thought they were doing something small. They were rebuilding themselves from the ground up. I want to share one more patient story here, because it is the one that has stayed with me the longest. His name was James, 81 years old, from rural Mississippi, a former cotton farmer who had lived a physically demanding life and assumed that his foot pain and instability were simply the price of hard work over 8 decades. He had fallen twice in the previous year and was beginning to use a walker indoors. His daughter brought him to see me because she was afraid the next fall would kill him. James's toe flexor strength was among the lowest I had ever measured in a patient his age. We started him on the towel scrunching protocol, combined with the short foot exercise and daily walks on grass with bare feet, which stimulates the foot's sensory system in ways that shoes simply cannot replicate. At 16 weeks, James's balance scores had improved by 38% on clinical testing. He put the walker in his garage. He told me, The last thing he wanted was for his grandchildren to remember him as a man who couldn't walk on his own land. They don't have to. To accelerate the benefits of this exercise, pair it with an evening routine of soaking your feet in warm water with Epsom salts for 15 minutes before bed. Magnesium is absorbed transdermally through the skin, and the warmth promotes circulation to the microvascular networks in the foot that deliver oxygen and nutrients to those small muscles while they are recovering overnight. This is an ancient practice with very modern science behind it. And now, number 1, the most powerful foot exercise for anyone over 60. The one that Japan's oldest doctor returned to again and again. The one that looks so simple that most people dismiss it immediately, and that dismissal costs them years of unnecessary pain. It is called single leg balance training. And before you say you already know about this, let me tell you what the research actually shows, because I promise you have never heard it framed quite this way. Your balance system is a 3-part orchestra: your eyes, your inner ear, and a system called proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense its own position in space. Proprioception lives primarily in your joints, ligaments, and the small sensory receptors in the soles of your feet. After the age of 60, proprioceptive sensitivity declines at a rate of approximately 1% per year, quietly, invisibly, without any obvious warning. By the time you reach 75, you may have lost 20 to 30% of your foot's ability to communicate positional information to your brain. That is why surfaces that never bothered you before suddenly feel unstable. That is why steps and curbs become frightening. That is why you reach for a wall in a dark room. Your feet are no longer talking to your brain clearly enough. A study from the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology, one of the longest-running studies of healthy aging ever conducted, found that adults over 65 who practiced daily single-leg balance training for 12 weeks showed a 44% reduction in fall incidence over the following year, and demonstrated measurable improvements in plantar sensory receptor density as assessed by nerve conduction testing. The nerves in their feet were, in a measurable and documented sense, becoming more alive. Here is the protocol. Stand behind a sturdy kitchen counter or chair. Lift one foot just slightly off the ground. You are not standing on one leg dramatically. You are simply transferring all your weight to one side. Hold for 30 seconds. Switch. That is 1 round. Do 5 rounds per side every single morning, without fail. As you improve, and you will improve, progress to doing it with your eyes closed for 10 seconds at a time, which forces your proprioceptive system to work without any help from your vision, and drives adaptation far more powerfully. Research from the University of Sydney found that eyes-closed balance training produced 63% greater improvements in proprioceptive function compared to eyes-open training in adults over 65. Eyes closed, counter nearby, 10 seconds at a time. Dr. Hinahara reportedly performed this exercise himself every single morning of his adult life, well into his late 90s. He called it his conversation with the ground, a daily reminder to his nervous system that he was still present, still connected, still alive to the world beneath his feet. I want you to think about what this means for your life, not in abstract medical terms, but in real, breathing human terms. It means being able to walk to the kitchen at night without turning on every light. It means standing at the edge of a garden and not feeling afraid. It means traveling to places you have dreamed of, walking cobblestone streets, hiking a gentle trail, dancing at a grandchild's wedding, not watching from a chair, but being there, fully, physically present in your own life. The pairing for single-leg balance training is daylight. Perform it in the morning near a window, or better yet, step outside barefoot onto grass or soft ground, if the weather permits. Morning light signals the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, the body's master clock, to regulate cortisol and neuromuscular activation patterns, both of which support the proprioceptive training you are about to do. Dr. Hinohara was specific about this. Morning, natural light, every day, without exception. So there you have it. 5 exercises. Toe splay activation to wake the sleeping muscles of your foot. Eccentric heel raises to rebuild the resilience of your Achilles tendon. The short foot exercise to reconstruct the arch that holds your entire posture in alignment. Toe flexor strengthening to defend against the falls that claim too many lives too early. And single leg balance training, the most powerful of all, to reestablish that conversation between your feet and your brain that keeps you connected to the earth, to your family, and to your own independence. I want to close by telling you something I believe with everything I have learned in 30 years of medicine. Foot pain is not a sentence. It is not the universe telling you that your best years are behind you. It is a signal that something has been neglected and that something can be addressed. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. Margaret, Robert, Eleanor, James, none of them were. And you are not either. Every single day that you wake up and choose to do these exercises, you are making a declaration. You are saying that your quality of life matters, that your independence matters, that the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, literally, not just metaphorically, is worth 5 minutes of your morning. Because it is. It absolutely is. All scientific references, studies, and additional resources mentioned in this video are linked in the description below. Please consult your physician before beginning any new exercise program, particularly if you have existing injuries or balance concerns. If this video helped you, please subscribe to this channel right now and share this video with someone you love who is struggling with foot pain, because they deserve to know this information exists. And leave me a comment below answering this question. After watching today, which of these 5 exercises are you going to try first? And what is the one activity you are most determined to get back to? Tell me. I will be reading every single response. Because your story is not over. It is, in many ways, just beginning.